It is time to give some much needed love and attention to BigBear.ai Stock's chart. So that's what I'm going to do in this video, along with providing some background market bias and a reminder of the important catalysts that we have, one of which is today at 10 a.m., which is the JOLTS report that we get, and then also the Fed meeting, which concludes tomorrow. We want to be watchful for what we get at 2 p.m. from the Summary of Economic Projections and their interest rate decision. And then, of course, Jerome Powell's commentary at 2:30 market time. So let's get into the charts just to give some evidence about what we have going on right now. So let's go out to the SPY, and you can see a little bit of the nervousness in the market as it brings itself on this weekly chart to a double top here. If we drop down to a daily chart for SPY, you can see that we're just having some trouble, some nervousness making it up over here. And I would be surprised to see us pop up over 688 prior to, and actually holding on to it, closing above it prior to the close of the Fed meeting. Tomorrow is probably going to be a very big day. Today could be a very big day, depending on what we get surprising to the upside or downside for JOLTS. And if it comes in as expected, even that can add some levity to the market. So the Qs, pretty much the same thing, has not retaken that previous peak. And that's likely because of some of the big tech jitters that we see versus some of the broadening that we may have found with other stocks that are in SPY that are continuing to show some of that performative strength, whereas a lot of that strength has been priced in well over time, with the Qs outperforming over the past several years over what we see for the SPY, which tracks the S&P 500, versus the Qs, which tracks the NASDAQ 100, which the Magnificent Seven are a large influence in. IWM, the small caps, there we go. Triple top on this one so far. And I talked about how much of a bearish sign this can be if we can't get up over this. And that top price happens to be right at about 252. And if we go down a little bit, actually, let's change the type of chart that we're looking at here. We'll go to this so you can see a little bit better. We're a little bit higher right now than these two previous peaks. And it's going to be really important to watch and see what happens today with those risk assets. And then even Bitcoin, if you look at the daily chart, is kind of stuttering sideways a little bit, likely until we get the JOLTS report and until we hear what the Fed has to say. The market could start moving. We could start to see those gears moving, and it could take us in either direction. All that said, let's get into BigBear.ai Stock, starting with the hourly chart. So one thing that I see when we look at this is that if we go all the way back to June, when we broke up over this $4.80 mark, and if I zoom in on that moment, you can see that was an important price for us. Broke up above it, came down, retested, and then took a rocket ship ride well up over $8 per share, and that was a really fun ride while it lasted. And then we traded sideways for a little bit, and then their earnings happened. It was two earnings ago that things kind of sold off, popped up, and then settled back down, and once again hit 480, took that next rocket ship right up to that $8.43, and then sold off again down into this area that we have down here of support, and then back up above. Oh yeah, you get the idea. So a bit of a sideways trade, if you will, since June, and that can be frustrating people, and it can be something that leads to a little bit of subdued trading volumes. Now, mind you, still a very hot play in terms of momentum, that as we get different news coming out about them, especially if some of the big, beautiful bill money ends up going their way, it would take not too much capital from that in order to make a stock like this one explode, being as though it's in penny stock territory. If we come out to the daily chart on something like this, we can see a little bit more information with a little less noise, and you can see a little bit more of the Fibonacci extension values with the 480 being that 100% Fibonacci movement that we have, and it's a very old number. We actually have to go all the way back. Let me click on that, and then we'll click right here. There we go. So the date that this was established, this 100% movement, happened to go all the way, and let's zoom in here. August the 5th of 2024 is when that line was established, and it's been pretty good as a base for us, and we're actually traveling up along the 200 EMA, which is good, and we're recently up above the 50 EMA, which is also great for us. Getting that 13 across the 50 is also a bullish thing. 735, as it turns out, is actually a very important number for us, and you can see any number of rejections, even times that we broke up above it. 843 also being established as a very old and critical number for us to close above, and we were able to do it temporarily, but we were never able to really sustain up above it, even if we go all the way back here to the beginning of 2025. So back in February, we were able to get up above it for a couple of days before selling off majorly again. As that hype died down, we definitely want to watch the volumes. They're going to be very telling for us as to what to expect from the price action, and we want to match it up with the direction that we see as well. So from the daily chart, the RSI is up at 52, which is in the bullish momentum territory with some volume pickup, as on Thursday of last week, we had a 15% gain, and then we kind of stuttered a little bit, had this candle right here, which is showing some indecision, followed by a little bit of de-risking, but we are still staying up above the 50. And like I said, we want to see that yellow cross over the red. That would be a bullish crossover, much like we had the 5 cross over the 50. That'd be the 13 crossing over the 50, and we are in a net bullish position. If we move out to a weekly chart from there, you can see a little bit more detail recently about the consolidation that we have. That so far, the tops are somewhat coming down, the bottoms are coming up. In other words, a big moment is coming. We just need to know the direction. Right now, we still have a bullish bias to this as we are up above the 200, which is in blue, the 50, which is in red. And the price action as of right now for these weekly candles that we see back here 1 week, we are still above them. We want to stay above them, of course. The RSI at 53, still bullish momentum. We are starting to get a tapering of that volume, that it is starting to subside a little bit as some of the momentum tapers off, as the news tapers off. So we had large green candles with large volume. So that was signaling that we're going to move up. And then we got large red candles with these very high wicks, signaling that a downtrend was likely to happen. And that's what we got all the way down to that 50. And you can see that so far, that's actually been pretty good support for us. We saw it back here in April and March. We almost got there in September. And then we definitely tagged it in the middle of November for that trading week. Now, watch these peaks if we drop when we go out to the monthly chart, because what you'll see is that we have all high wicks up here as soon as we start to get north of that 735 number. And if I put the lines back on here for you, you can see for 735 and 843, we do not have, out of 1, 2, 3, 4 different months for these candles, we don't have any closes above 843 or 735. There's a lot of selling pressure that comes in anytime that we move north of it, and we have to zoom way out. As a matter of fact, when you look all the way out here, the last time that we closed up above 735 or 843 takes us all the way back to April of 2022 is the last time that we closed up above it. And there's only selling pressure waiting for us so far. That tells us that we need a monthly close up above 735 to see some reinvigoration here. Now, the monthly RSI is at about 60, which is perfect, and it's above the 14 period moving average. So let me move that up. It's nice to see that accumulation happening, that growing of volumes, lots of interest in a stock like this one. Now, we do see the RSI moving up in general, but you'll notice that we're not getting the same peakiness here as well. And that matches along with some of the volume profile that we get more recently, that we started to really die off in terms of this. Now, mind you, this is December, and we are only on the 9th day of December. So we're about a third of the way through, and we could overtake this volume. We definitely want to overtake 735 as that near-term price. Now we are up above the 50, the 13, and right now we're up above the 5 as well. We don't have a 200 on this because this is not a 200-month-old stock that we're watching for. And you can see the trouble that we have as soon as we get near these lows that are over here. They give us a lot of trouble. So this is most likely from a SPAC, is most likely how it joined me, as though it's right around that $10 per share. And probably as soon as they IPO'd, I'm guessing it was in December of 21. As soon as they came out, the stock dropped, and then saw some excitement that pushed us up over $16 per share. So it's going to take probably a pretty big catalyst. We have the bulls really buying into this thing, moving it up. We have the bears that keep on tamping it back down below 735. The month that we close up above 735 is going to be a very, very important month for us in terms of seeing further price action. So we're looking for that big news catalyst that allows us to overtake that. And in the meantime, we can look at those moving averages to see the story that they're telling. And we also have evidence that down around $4.80 per share, and that we have significant buying pressure that comes in along with it. As long as we don't have much change about the company, and in a negative sense, that 480 could be about where we see that accumulation, or I should say down to the low 5s even is where we see some of that, because the bottoms are continuing to come up right now. So is there anything else that we can take from the charts? Well, I believe, even though I might not have it drawn on here right now, that we click along here, you can actually see a pretty decent trend line across the bottoms of this for that monthly chart. And breaking down below this could have us with that watch out below moment. And if we go back to a weekly chart with that ray that's on there, so it looks like I'm going to have to adjust the visibility of it. Click on the ray, and boom, it'll only take a moment here. For some reason, weeks don't want to show, but now weeks will show. Drop down to the weekly chart, we can see a little bit more of what that looks like. That anytime that we hit this trend line, that we have a pretty strong bounce that comes off of it. And we can even make some further adjustments here that might give us a little bit more accuracy. There we go. And let's also move that way. I think that's a really nice trend line to be looking at. And we also have some rays to the north of that if I put those on and they come off the all-time highs, there we go, that you can start to see where that selling pressure comes in from a trend line basis as well. And we can also watch for those, although these might be a little bit more minor. I think the horizontals are a much better story to tell when we look at BigBear.ai stock. We are creeping up once again on that 735. We might get an initial rejection once we get there, given all the different selling pressure that we've seen, especially if we hit 843. But for that 735, closing on top of it is that next big move that we're looking at. So when we look back over here, when we were breaking up above it, we closed above it on June 30th, on the week of June 30th, and then the next week failed to hold it as support, broke back up above it the week of July 14th, and then, well, we actually did close above it for one more, but then once again failed to hold it, and then you can see the sell-off that happened after that established it as not a very good floor, and so after that it became a ceiling, at least on a weekly basis. If we drop out to a daily basis on this, there we go. For 735, man, we can break up above it, but we just keep on failing to hold it. 735 is the critical line that you want to look at for a BigBear.ai stock. It's going to be very important to us to get up there to see that further bullishness. We want to hang on to it. And I guess in terms of trading, we know where that resistance is. It is nice to see that climbing momentum on a daily basis, a weekly basis, holding steady right around 50. Monthly basis, we want to see a further momentum peak pushing to the north. And if we can continue to get a big volume day that pushes us up above 735, that could be that next run that we take at 843. And closing above 843 is even better, because then maybe we'd finally get that 2-digit price tag. The news is going to be absolutely critical to watch for BigBear.ai stock, especially ones that mean that they have a broadening of customers and that they have things that are going to directly impact their revenue and translate to bottom line growth as well, that we start to see some of the earnings come in for those. So guys, that's the big talk that I had for BigBear.ai stock and its technicals. You can let me know what you think down in the comments. Is there a known catalyst coming up that you anticipate for that stock? Should we be watching for it? What do you think about the next 2 days with the JOLTS report today? And then we have Jerome Powell speaking tomorrow, along with the interest rate decision, the summary of economic projections that could tell us a lot more about risk assets in general, outside of just what directly impacts BigBear.ai, but the further the outside macro environment that it also finds itself in. It's going to be huge that this rising tide could raise all ships, but it could also be something that as the tide goes out, the ship's also going to lower, and we got to be aware of what sort of environment we find ourselves in. So guys, if you want to check out more of this technical analysis, learn how to trade options, or even learn more about crypto, there's some courses through Stockmo Academy. Teamed up with Stockmo months ago over at the Discord. Both of those links are down in the description. If you choose the Discord link, you can most likely take advantage of the 3-day free trial. I believe it's still active. If you take advantage of Stockmo Academy, there you'll find the courses on the technical analysis, the options trading, and also crypto. Crypto is the brand new one that's just out there. Code word doctor is going to save you $400. Bundling the courses together is going to get you a bundle discount as well. Thank you very much for watching. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning. You'll see you next video.